And away we go. Episode 1130 of the Al Galdi podcast. It is Monday, August 11th, 2025. 1 month from today is the Commanders' second game in the NFL's 2025 regular season. Perhaps you are aware of this, but the team will begin its 2025 regular season with 2 games in 5 days. Week 1, home to the New York Giants on Sunday afternoon, September 7th at 1. Week 2, at the Green Bay Packers on Thursday Night Football on September 11th at 8:15. The start to our team's 2025 regular season is going to be a whirlwind. And let us hope that the Commanders' 2025 regular season begins in much better fashion than their 2025 preseason did. Hello and welcome to this Monday installment of the Al Galdi podcast, on which we talk Commanders on every episode, no matter the time of year. New episodes of this podcast 5 days per week, Monday through Friday, with each episode out by 5 a.m. Eastern and often much earlier. If you're a Commanders fan, you can count on this podcast being there when you wake up. We appreciate you making this podcast part of your routine. The Commanders on Friday night in their 2025 preseason opener got ripped, a 48-18 loss at the New England Patriots. The game gave me flashbacks to another rough loss for Washington in a preseason game at the Pats. Perhaps you remember this, a 41-0 loss at the Pats on August 26th, 2006. That was part of an 0-4 preseason prior to the Redskins going just 5-11 in the 2006 regular season. That preseason proved to be telling. I would be very surprised if what happened on Friday night proves to be telling about the team's upcoming regular season. Coming up on the show, a lot on the Commanders off the loss at the Pats on Friday night and off the Commanders practicing on Sunday afternoon. Next segment, a deep dive on what went wrong for the Commanders on Friday night and why, including proper perspective, given that the team played very few starters/key players, and the Pats played a good number of starters/key players. Also, the sloppiness of the Commanders, especially on special teams, and why Commanders receivers, mostly doing poorly in the game, did not increase the leverage for receiver Terry McLaurin in his contract extension negotiations with the team, contrary to what you may have heard and or read. The following segment, discussion of the competition for the Commanders' QB3 job. Is that competition already over, given how poorly Sam Hartman played on Friday night and how competent Josh Johnson was? And then the segment after that, thoughts on the Commanders' players who did well on Friday night, including running back Jacory Croskey-Merritt and interior defensive lineman Johnny Newton. You know, the Commanders did not play many key players in the game, but many of the key Commanders players who did play in the game played well. By the way, some Commanders news on Sunday evening reports that the team is signing unrestricted free agent linebacker Duke Riley. He was one of many players who worked out for the team on Sunday afternoon. Duke Riley spent the last 4 seasons with the Miami Dolphins. The 2025 season would be his age 31 season. And also on the show, I'll talk Nationals and Orioles. The Nats, they over the weekend won 2 out of 3 games at the San Francisco Giants, as the Nats 2 All-Stars for this season. 2 guys who had been slumping lately, left fielder James Wood and starting pitcher MacKenzie Gore, each did very well. The O's, they over the weekend had more bad injury news and lost 2 out of 3 games against the Athletics at Oriole Park at Camden Yards. You can hit me up on X at Al Galdi. You can email me the Al Galdi podcast at yahoo.com. From Brad Butterworth on X on the Commanders getting smashed at the Pats on Friday night, writes Brad, Washington going to be thin, no question. DQ started with zip, but Pats coaches had strong preseasons, only to be bad when the seasons began. Thank you for that, Brad. Yes, never, ever forget Osaka. Do you remember Osaka? August 3rd, 2002, the Redskins blew out the San Francisco 49ers 38-7 at the Osaka Dome in Osaka, Japan, in the Skins' very first game with Steve Spurrier as head coach. The Spurrier offense, the fun and gun offense, was unstoppable on that night. The Skins' starting quarterback on that night, Danny Werfel, he went 16 for 25 for 269 yards, 3 touchdowns, and no interceptions. We were off and running with Spurrier, the old ball coach, the OBC, as Skins' head coach. The Skins in that 2002 preseason went 4-1 with a point differential of plus 55. And then what happened in the 2002 regular season? The Skins went 7-9 But on the flip side of that is 1991. The Skins in the 1991 preseason went just 1-3, but they then in the 1991 regular season went 14-2 and then won the Super Bowl for the 1991 season. Greatest season in franchise history, despite the 1-3 record in the 1991 preseason. Email from Redskins fan on potential free agent acquisitions for the Commanders. Writes Redskins fan, "Hey Al, do you see any free agents who could possibly help the Commanders out as depth pieces or role players? Some of the ones I see who look good are a little older. I would give them a chance at proper value, but what do you think?" Thank you for the email, Redskins fan. There are a good number of notable players who remain unrestricted free agents. I do wonder about receiver Jamison Crowder, who spent the last 2 seasons with the Commanders in what was his second stint with Washington. He remains an unrestricted free agent. Former Washington guard Brandon Sheriff, he remains an unrestricted free agent. But Redskins fans' email makes me think of something, and that is that there is at least a decent chance that the Commanders' 53-man roster for Week 1 of the regular season will include a player or players not currently on the team, but a player or players currently on another team or on other teams. This is what happened with receiver Noah Brown last year. The Houston Texans on August 27th, 2024, and their cut down to 53 announced having released Brown. The Commanders 2 days later announced having signed Brown as an unrestricted free agent. Just mentioned Crowder. This is what happened with Crowder in 2023. His contract with the New York Giants was terminated on August 30th, 2023, and they're cut down to 53. The Commanders on September 6th, 2023, announced that they had signed Crowder to the practice squad. So absolutely, there could be another addition or additions to the team coming. A big part of the job of General Manager Adam Peters and Assistant General Manager Lance Newmark right now is studying other teams' rosters, and once cuts are made, seeing who might be worth getting. Email from Pastor Mike off our conversation on this past Wednesday's show, episode 1127, with C. Jackson Cowart, Senior Publishing Editor for Sportsbook Review. He told us about his innovative metric, the NFL Fatigue Index, a groundbreaking metric that measures the effects of wear and tear across the NFL season based on travel, rest, and more. He has the Commanders as having the 5th highest fatigue index for the 2025 regular season. Writes Mike, "Hi Al, I've enjoyed your broadcast for years, beginning with radio and continuing with your podcast. Thanks so much for keeping up with our area sports so we don't have to." I listened with interest to your podcast with guest C. Jackson Cowart on the subject of the fatigue index. A thought occurred to me during the conversation that was not covered, unless I missed this. That is, how does the fatigue index factor in with a team that has an older average starter age? I believe the Commanders rank pretty high in that category. Maybe it does not matter at all, but that thought crossed my mind. Blessings to you and your family, Mike. Well, thank you very much for that, Mike. I did ask C. Jackson Cowart if he believes that ranking high in fatigue index makes a team more prone to injury, and he said yes, although that is a theory. We don't have data to back that up. And logically, being an older team makes a team more prone to injury too, and the Commanders are tracking toward being an older team, if not the oldest team in the NFL. So that combination of high fatigue index and being an older team would not seem to bode well for the Commanders in terms of avoiding injury in the 2025 regular season. But there is an important aspect of the Commanders being an older team that does need to be understood. Yes, starters like tight end Zach Ertz and linebacker Bobby Wagner are older players, but also older players. And driving up the team's average age are players like Josh Johnson, who is vying to be the QB3, and punter Tress Way, and long snapper Tyler Ott, and linebacker and special teams ace Nick Bellore. A good number of the Commanders' older players are players who are not key players on offense or defense. I want to take a moment to thank the longest tenured sponsor of the Al Galdi podcast, the great Dr. George Verghese. Dr. Verghese is a board-certified dermatologist and Mohs surgeon. Operating under his direction is the Mid-Atlantic Skin Surgery Institute of Maryland, which has locations in Waldorf, Maryland, Leonardtown, Maryland, and Lexington Park, Maryland. Whatever your dermatological needs may be, call 301-396-3401 or visit midatlanticskin.com and make sure that you mention that Al Galdi sent you. The Mid-Atlantic Skin Surgery Institute of Maryland focuses on medical skin care, cosmetic procedures, and skin cancer diagnosis and comprehensive care. Dr. Verghese and the Institute offer free skin cancer screenings to anyone considered a new patient, and Dr. Verghese and the Institute offer advanced treatments for skin cancer, including painless and scarless skin cancer treatment. Also, if you are dealing with allergic reactions, if you're dealing with acne, psoriasis, or eczema, if you're interested in procedures like Botox, laser hair removal, or chemical peels, call 301-396-3401 or visit midatlanticskin.com and make sure that you mention that Al Galdi sent you. That's 301-396-3401 or midatlanticskin.com and make sure that you mention that Al Galdi sent you. For excellent and comprehensive skin care, contact Dr. George Verghese and the Mid-Atlantic Skin Surgery Institute of Maryland, and make sure that you mention that Al Galdi sent you. Hey, a few things that you can do to support this podcast, and these are things that cost nothing and take very little time. First of all, you on Apple Podcasts and on Spotify can both rate the podcast and write reviews. The highest rating is a 5-star rating. It is greatly appreciated if you give the podcast a 5-star rating, and it is also greatly appreciated if you write like a 1 or 2 sentence review saying that you like the podcast. Also, following the podcast is a big help. If you have an iPhone, following the podcast is as simple as clicking on the word follow next to a plus sign near the top right of your screen. Thank you for doing these things. They help to make the podcast a success, and thank you for listening to the podcast. The Commanders on Friday night played the first of their 3 games in the NFL's 2025 preseason, and the Commanders in that game got smashed. A 48-18 loss at the New England Patriots. So the Commanders on Sunday afternoon held a training camp practice at their team facility in Ashburn, Virginia. What was the final practice of this training camp open to fans in some form, and Sunday was Military Appreciation Day at camp. The team's next preseason game is against the Cincinnati Bengals at Northwest Stadium on Monday Night Football on August 18th at 8. Commanders head coach Dan Quinn did a pre-practice press conference on Sunday afternoon. He, during the presser, revealed that offensive tackle Lucas Niang suffered a torn ACL in the loss at the Pats. So the Commanders on July 30th announced the signing of Niang as an unrestricted free agent. He was taken by the Kansas City Chiefs out of TCU in the 3rd round of the 2020 NFL Draft, but he has not played in a regular season game since the 2023 regular season. Niang took the roster spot of guard Nate Herbig. The Commanders on July 29th announced having placed Herbig on the reserve/retired list. Here was Dan Quinn on Sunday afternoon on moving on from the loss at the Pats.
We have a process, so we like to, after the game, discuss it all. We call it Tell the Truth Monday, and it's a time not to place blame, but to show the examples of what went right, what didn't, what needs addressing, how do we work on that, and then lastly, and probably most important, like what's the action you're going to put behind it? To say if this happened or this technique or this false start or this penalty, acknowledging it is one thing. But then like now here's the individual plan to say this can't repeat the mistake. And that's process that I like to put together with them. And knowing, hey, this is style, identity. We have to have that part right first above all. Penalties and, field position and, not getting enough takeaways, being minus, like those are all things that contribute, to why we didn't win. But above all else, I want to make sure our play style is right. The running, the hitting, the physicality, like that's above everything.
I have to say, I liked hearing Dan Quinn bring up Tell the Truth Monday. Do you remember Tell the Truth Mondays? It felt good to hear Quinn reference Tell the Truth Monday. Quinn talking about Tell the Truth Monday is a reminder that football season is indeed here. Now, did I like seeing the Commanders get blown out at the Pats on Friday night? No, I did not. Am I especially bothered by the Commanders getting blown out at the Pats on Friday night? No, I am not. Any analysis of this game has to start with this. The Commanders played very few starters/key players, and the Pats played a good number of starters/key players. The Commanders, shortly before the game, announced that 30 players did not dress for the game. Commanders offensive players who did not dress for the game, and some did not even make the trip, Quarterbacks, Jaden Daniels and Marcus Mariota. Receivers, Terry McLaurin, Deebo Samuel Sr., and Noah Brown. Tight ends, Zach Ertz and John Bates. Running backs, Brian Robinson Jr. and Austin Eckler. And offensive linemen, Laramie Tunsil, Brandon Coleman, Tyler Biotish, Samuel Cosme, Nick Allegretti, Andrew Wiley, and Timothy McKay. Commanders' defensive players who did not dress for the game, and some did not even make the trip. Interior defensive linemen Daron Payne and Javon Kinlaw. Edge defenders Von Miller, Dorrance Armstrong, Dietrich Wise Jr., and Javante Jean-Baptiste. Linebackers Bobby Wagner, Frankie Louvu, and Jordan McGee. Cornerbacks Marshawn Lattimore, Mikey Sainristil, and Jonathan Jones. And safeties Quan Martin and Will Harris. So many key players for the team did not play in this game. Basically, the very few key offensive and defensive players who did play for the team in this game were players taken in the 2025 NFL Draft and a few veterans like edge defenders Cleveland Farrell and Jacob Martin and cornerback Noah Igbenogany and safety Jeremy Reeves. Additionally, there did seem to be an element of the Pats being up for this game. The Pats being fired up for this game. This was their first game with Mike Vrabel as head coach. You know that he wanted to make a good first impression. And the Pats, prior to the game, unveiled a 12-foot bronze statue of the GOAT, legendary former Pats quarterback Tom Brady, outside of Gillette Stadium. And Brady was at the game. Now, the onus is on Dan Quinn to have his team up for the game, even with it being a preseason game. The team certainly did not seem to be as up for the game as the Pats were. That was not good. But we, with this game, had this combination of the Commanders playing very few starters / key players, the Pats playing a good number of starters / key players, and the Pats being up for the game for multiple reasons. So in hindsight, we probably should not be stunned by what we saw. That said, what we saw was rough. This was a tough watch. Here was Dan Quinn during the opening statement of his post-game press conference late night on Friday night.
So what I'm looking for over the next 10 days, like really good improvement. And we had made good strides. And even coming up here for the joint, a lot of evaluations that take place between the practice and the game, and that's still the case. And I'll look forward to, going through both and getting to it. There were some things early I saw that I liked. Saw some from Connerly, Amos, Newton were a couple early that, I saw. Then past that, just like I said, I hated the score. But I want to look at the evaluation. There's still things to get from it. And I expect us to improve a good bit. Our flagship certainly has been on the special teams side. To see a score right off the bat, that one was a gut punch. I thought we'd battle back and get right to it, and it never clicked on that way tonight.
Well, nothing on Friday night stood out more than how sloppy the Commanders were, right? The Commanders had 13 accepted penalties for 98 yards. The Pats had 2 accepted penalties for 15 yards. And how about the nature of the Commanders' penalties? The Commanders on the first offensive snap of the second half committed a 5-yard illegal formation penalty. The Commanders on their first offensive snap of their third drive in the third quarter committed a 5-yard too many men on field penalty. The final snap of the game was a 5-yard delay of game penalty by the Commanders. How appropriate was that? Even with so few key players playing for the team, the operation should have been a lot cleaner. Dan Quinn, during his postgame press conference late night on Friday night, on the team playing without so many starters / key players.
We have really high standards about how we want to do things and how we want to get down. And when you miss them, man, you talk it, you drill it, you discuss it. Like, we're going to have some, we're going to watch it all, every bit of it. And we also did the same thing when we liked the plays from the practice. So it all counts. Everything does. And that's no surprise to any of the players or any of the coaches. And when you miss it, you acknowledge it and say it and talk it and say, all right, this can't happen. And I'm not one that looks the other way or, hey, let's move on to the next. That's not how I get down. So, there's a lesson, I'm going to learn them. And if it's for this player on this moment in this situation, it's important. And so I'm the one that has to keep the standard, and we miss it. I missed it. And so as much as there's some things I liked from the practice, there's some things that I really disliked from tonight's performance. But you know what? It all counts, and it's all part of it. Adam and I have got plenty of tape to go watch. And we got a nice little stretch here in between this game and our next one. And I expect some of that sloppiness to get going. Get your ass kicked, and we're in the fight the whole time, and I can live with that. The ones that I don't are like, man, when we didn't play to the style, the attitude, the penalties, those are the ones like I can almost live with any result when you put it all in, do it right. But when it's sloppy and not to the standards, that burns my ass.
And good for Dan Quinn for not using the team playing without so many starters / key players as an excuse. Commanders special teams. They were not so special. The Commanders on the opening kickoff of the game gave up a 100-yard kickoff return for a touchdown by running back Travion Henderson. Talk about a tone setter. The Commanders in the second quarter gave up a 62-yard kickoff return by former Washington running back Antonio Gibson. Also, Commanders kicker Matt Gay. He went 1 for 2 on field goals. He was wide left on a 49-yard field goal attempt in the first quarter. I am not ready to panic over the kicking situation off one missed field goal attempt, but we are all quite familiar with the team's kicker drama over the last few years. Dan Quinn, for now, is not panicking over the kicking situation either. We on Sunday afternoon had this exchange between Adam Kilgore of the Washington Post and Quinn.
Pardon if this might be premature, but is there any thought at all to bring in a second kicker to have some competition with Matt? And kind of what have you seen from Matt in camp?
Yeah, totally fair question. It's not where we're at, but we've got a lot of faith and belief in Matt, and there's a lot for us to get better at. And at that position, it's technical, and you got to make sure the issues are really strong and really capable to go. And I'm certain he'll do that.
Yeah, let's see some more from Matt Gay. The Commanders this past April 29th announced having signed Gay as an unrestricted free agent. Keep this in mind. The contract reportedly is a one-year deal with more than $4.25 million fully guaranteed at signing. The most fully guaranteed money for a kicker in a one-year deal in NFL history. The 2025 season will be Gay's age 31 season. He was taken by the Tampa Bay Buccaneers out of the University of Utah in the 5th round of the 2019 NFL Draft. Kicked for the Bucs in the 2019 regular season, the Los Angeles Rams in the 2020 through 2022 regular seasons, and the Indianapolis Colts in the 2023 and 2024 regular seasons. So the Colts this past April 10th released Gay. He over his 2 regular seasons with the Colts went just 64 for 78 on field goals, although he also went 68 for 69 on extra points. And regarding the 14 missed field goal attempts, 11 of them came on field goal attempts of at least 50 yards. While we are talking kicking, how about Jacksonville Jaguars kicker Cam Little connecting on a 70-yard field goal on the final snap of the first half in the Jags' home loss to the Pittsburgh Steelers on Saturday night? The NFL record for longest field goal in a regular season is 66 yards, set by Baltimore Ravens kicker Justin Tucker in September 2021. Anyway, Dan Quinn during his post-game press conference late night on Friday night on the Commanders' special teams problems in the loss at the Pats.
Yeah, it stung for us tonight because we have really, really high standards in that. So not just the returns, we had fouls on that, and that's one of the phases that we really emphasize. And Larry is right in the front of all that, man. Like, it's impressive. And so to have a performance where it didn't go our way, it can be confusing, surprising, all those emotions, because none of us would have saw that coming. And I like that we've tried to feature different guys. There's high standards that we want to do it. So let's get to it. But I was surprised and confused, like we all are, because that's one that we really count on and lean in hard on, and we will. But that was not indicative of who we want to be on teams for sure.
The Commander Special Teams Coordinator is Larry Izzo. The team last season was really good on special teams. If you go by the Aaron Schatz DVOA metric, the Commanders for the 2024 regular season were number 9 in the NFL in special teams DVOA. We on Sunday afternoon had this exchange between Commanders insider J.P. Finley of NBC4 and Dan Quinn.
You were understandably upset Friday night with special teams. How do you address that, and kind of specifically the coverage stuff? Where were those breakdowns?
Yeah, you're right on. That's our flagship on the special team side, especially the kickoff and the kickoff return. We take great pride in that. And so to see that not go down, first thing, man, acknowledge it, put it up, show it, show both of them where the errors were. Good news, this is how we also fix that. But it was important to show that. It's important to say when it's right, but it's important to show this isn't to the standard. This is how we've got to do it. And I'm certain we'll get that fixed.
All right, another negative for the Commanders on Friday night was run defense. I am reluctant to make much of team stats in an NFL preseason game, but the Commanders' run defense, of course, a big problem last season, was not good in this game. The Commanders allowed the Pats to have 31 carries for 153 yards and 4 touchdowns. That works out to a yards per carry of 4.94. And then there were Commanders receivers. They, for the most part, did not look good. Receiver Chris Moore, he in training camp has had a problem with drops. He on Friday night had 2 drops. Moore on the Commanders' third offensive snap of the game had a bad drop on a first quarter 3rd and 5 shotgun incompletion by quarterback Sam Hartman. The drive resulted in a 3-and-out. Moore later in the first quarter had a drop on a 1st and 10 shotgun incompletion by Hartman on a deep ball down the left sideline, although Moore was tightly covered on the play. But still, to me, 2 drops by Moore. Receiver KJ Osborne dropped a touchdown reception. He on a second quarter 3rd and 3 for the Commanders at the Pats 19 dropped a shotgun pass by Sam Hartman on a deep ball in the end zone. Although quarterback Alex Austin was credited with the pass defense on the play. Now, regarding this idea that I have seen expressed, and I'm guessing that many of you have seen expressed, perhaps some of you have done the expressing. It has been done by some members of the media and some fans, and that is that the Commanders' receivers looking so bad on Friday night made it a good night for Commanders receiver Terry McLaurin and his agent Buddy Baker. McLaurin, of course, having requested to be traded while in the midst of the stalled contract extension negotiations with the team. That McLaurin's leverage in the situation went up on Friday night. No. Okay, no. First of all, the Commanders on Friday night were without not just their number 1 receiver in Terry McLaurin, but also their numbers 2 and 3 receivers in Deebo Samuel and Noah Brown. But as I have said and will keep saying, the Commanders overwhelmingly have the leverage in this situation, and that's just not changing. McLaurin already is under contract for the 2025 season. If he wasn't under contract for the 2025 season, then things would be different, but he is under contract for the 2025 season. And he, for a variety of reasons, is extremely unlikely to be willing to sit out the 2025 season. And the team has the tool that is the franchise tag, which can be deployed for the 2026 season and even the 2027 season. The harsh reality here is that the team doesn't have to sign McLaurin to a contract extension. Doesn't have to do this. McLaurin needs an extension a lot more than the team does. And nothing that happens in a training camp practice or preseason game changes that. And so, no, Friday night did nothing for the leverage of Terry McLaurin. I know that disappoints some members of the media and some fans, but that is the truth. I'm a big Terry McLaurin fan. I want the team to sign him to a contract extension, but an extension or a new contract, if it happens, is going to happen on the team's terms. The team has the leverage. Commanders general manager Adam Peters has the upper hand, and of course, he knows that. During Dan Quinn's post-game press conference late night on Friday night, had this exchange between Adam Kilgore and Quinn.
The Whiteouts have obviously had a lot of opportunity with Terry's absence. Are you still kind of waiting a little bit for a guy or two to really step forward and like really kind of seize that?
Yeah, and that's the kind of sometimes the not know if I have the right word, like the silver lining, like where Noah hasn't, practiced a lot either. And so, okay, then the chances come and the opportunities come, and you probably saw some of that tonight, whether it's, featuring a guy on a deep ball, crossing routes, like different ones to go. I liked what I saw from Deebo at the practice. He's catch and run. There were screens. There was a fade, like we call it a box fade, where he's lined up at number 2, and like him and Jaden have a nice connection already on certain routes, and that happens. Okay, Zach on this thing, Deebo to here, but you're right, and we're still digging in to go and find out who can emerge, what it looks like, what the roles are. I've seen some good things from Jalen, Chris in the practice parts. I've seen some more I'm talking about, so we still got work to do and figure that part out. But there is, moments that they get more, and although sometimes you got to go through the evaluation piece and learn, like there is silver lining. It's hard when you're going through it, but like I do enjoy those moments to find out as well. I'll be honest with you, even when it's uncomfortable.
And Friday night was uncomfortable. The Commanders way too sloppy. That should not happen, regardless of who's playing. One more for you. Dan Quinn, during his post-game press conference late night on Friday night, on the sloppiness of his team.
Yeah, all three phases. I thought it was sloppy tonight. We had 15 penalties, and in different varieties. Pre-snap, 12 in a huddle, illegal formation. We had 2 holdings, I believe, on a kickoff return. An OPI, they stacked, and that showed sloppiness to me. And this is going to sound so unusual, and in the practice it was almost just the opposite. And I thought, okay, you know how I feel about penalties, and so that did not make me happy. Sometimes with penalties, there's an over-trying that takes place. Usually that's with a holding. He didn't let go. They trying to make a play. But the pre-snap ones, that's lack of focus. And those are the ones that irritate me and, drive me up a wall. And so those are some of the things I talked about, standards that I expect to be improved in these 10 days.
All right. Well, always upholding a very high standard is Nova Fireplace and Stove. Are you looking to upgrade the heart of your home? Whether it's time to repair your gas fireplace, modernize your hearth, or simply add more comfort and style, Nova Fireplace and Stove is Northern Virginia's go-to expert for heat, safety, and home transformation. Nova Fireplace and Stove is a family-owned, fully licensed, and insured company with over-the-top credentials, gas and electrical master's licenses, a Class A contractor's license, and a long list of 5-star reviews to back all of this up. Nova Fireplace and Stove has a beautiful showroom in Woodbridge, Virginia. That's where your dream fireplace begins. Come in and see Nova Fireplace and Stove's stunning displays, including custom fireplace glass doors and stone refacing options that can completely transform the look of your fireplace. From sleek and modern to rustic and cozy, Nova Fireplace and Stove has something for every style. And here's what else Nova Fireplace and Stove offers: gas fireplace service and repair, chimney cleaning and brickwork repair, generator installation, panel replacement, and water heater repairs, smoke detectors, security lights, and more. Every job includes a free in-home estimate. And for listeners of the Al Galdi podcast, Nova Fireplace and Stove is offering $25 off any service. Just mention this ad. Nova Fireplace and Stove only works in Northern Virginia and thus knows the homes, the codes, and the people. Your satisfaction is 100% guaranteed because Nova Fireplace and Stove takes pride in every flame that is lit and in every customer who is served. So stop by the showroom, see what's possible, and let Nova Fireplace and Stove help you bring warmth, safety, and style to your space. You can also visit NovaFireplaceandStove.com. Nova Fireplace and Stove, where comfort meets craftsmanship, and your fireplace becomes the heart of your home. Is the competition for the Commanders' QB3 job already over? An undeniable takeaway from the team's preseason opening 48-18 loss at the New England Patriots on Friday night is that Josh Johnson created separation between himself and Sam Hartman in the competition for the Commanders' QB3 job. Head coach Dan Quinn, in a pre-practice press conference on August 2nd, acknowledged what we had presumed, that there was a QB3 competition going on between Hartman and Johnson. Offensive coordinator Cliff Kingsbury, he in a post-practice press conference on August 4th, said that Hartman was having a, quote, up and down, end quote, camp, and also revealed that Hartman had undergone off-season shoulder surgery. Well, Hartman on Friday night was more down than up, and you wonder whether that shoulder is at issue. Hartman was the Commander starting quarterback in the game, played on 40% of the team's offensive snaps. He did not do well. He went just 9 for 19 for just 64 yards, no touchdowns, and an interception. He took no sacks. He had 1 carry for 6 yards. What we saw from him in And this game was ugly. Hartman on the Commanders' first offensive snap of the game was off on the first quarter, 1st and 10 shotgun play action and completion intended for receiver KJ Osborne on a quick throw. Hartman threw a first quarter, 3rd and 15 interception to cornerback DJ James near the right sideline on a shotgun pass intended for receiver Michael Gallup. Gallup, yes, did slip while pivoting to spin around, but Hartman on the throw failed to drive the ball as was needed, and that's where you do wonder whether that shoulder isn't right. Although, Hartman simply may not have the arm strength necessary to be an NFL quarterback. A great test of arm strength for a quarterback is the sideline throw, not necessarily the deep ball, and that sideline throw from Hartman was nowhere near good enough. Josh Johnson came into the game deep into the second quarter. He was the Commanders' quarterback for the rest of the game. He played on 58% of the team's offensive snaps, and you got to wonder if that was the plan. You would think that the plan was for Hartman to play the first half and Johnson to play the second half. That Johnson came into the game in the first half makes me wonder if Dan Quinn pulled Hartman from the game earlier than was the plan because Hartman was so bad. Now, Johnson was not great, but he was better than Hartman. Johnson went 15 for 22 for 173 yards, a touchdown, and an interception. He took no sacks. He had 2 carries for minus 11 yards. Johnson, on the opening drive of the second half, had a great 2nd and 10, 33-yard shotgun completion to tight end Lawrence Cager near the left sideline, despite taking a quarterback hit, and the next snap was a touchdown. The next snap was running back Jeremy McNichols' 1st and goal, 2-yard shotgun handoff touchdown run with 10:47 left in the third quarter. The Commanders' QB1, as you may have heard, is Jaden Daniels. The team's QB2 is Marcus Mariota, but he right now is dealing with what Dan Quinn during a pre-practice press conference this past Wednesday morning called a lower leg strain. If this injury is significant, then it could be that who the Commanders' QB3 is serves as the team's QB2, at least initially in the 2025 regular season. Who the Commanders' QB3 is matters. The team last regular season only played 2 quarterbacks in Daniels and Mariota. The team's QB3 for last season, Jeff Driscoll, did not play in a regular season game. The Commanders initially signed Sam Hartman in April 2024, signed him as an undrafted free agent at a Notre Dame. They this past January re-signed him to a reserve/future contract. The team signed Josh Johnson as an unrestricted free agent this past April 11th. The 2025 season would be Johnson's age 39 season. He was taken by the Tampa Bay Buccaneers out of the University of San Diego in the 5th round of the 2008 NFL Draft. He has played in at least 1 NFL regular season game for 7 different teams, has spent time with 14 different NFL teams, including Washington prior to now. He was with the Redskins during the 2018 season. He spent the last 2 seasons with the Baltimore Ravens, including serving as their QB2 last season. So a win-now team in the Ravens thought enough of Johnson to have him as their QB2 last season. And let me say this, while it is funny that Johnson has spent time with nearly half of the NFL, 14 out of 32 teams, him having been with so many different teams and him having lasted for so long as an NFL quarterback is a credit to him. You as a quarterback don't continually get signed, in some cases multiple times by the same team, if you're not smart and a quick study and well-regarded as a teammate and capable as a player. Sam Hartman on Friday night was really bad, like disturbingly bad. Yes, it was only 1 game, and it was a game in which the Commanders played very few key players, but if the team's QB3 gets thrust into being the QB2 for any length of time, to say nothing of being thrust into having to actually play in the regular season, do you want that QB3 to be Hartman of what we saw on Friday night? More now on the Commanders off their preseason opening 48-18 loss at the New England Patriots on Friday night and off the Commanders' practice on Sunday afternoon. There was a major bright spot for the Commanders in the game on Friday night, and that bright spot is that many of the few key Commanders players who did play in the game played well. Yes, the team overall did not play well, but the primary culprits were guys who are not key players for the team, like cornerback Carlin Vigors, an undrafted rookie out of Louisiana Monroe. He did not play well. okay, fine. We could live with that. The man who I expected to be the star of this Commanders preseason, rookie running back Jacory Croskey-Merritt, the man known as Bill, he played well. Did not have a dominant game, but he did have a good game. He on Friday night had 7 carries for just 24 yards and had 1 reception for 8 yards on 1 target in playing on 24% of the Commanders' offensive snaps. But he looked good in getting those 24 rushing yards, and he in the second quarter had multiple short yardage runs for first downs, so that skews his yards per carry. Croskey-Merritt during his post-game session with reporters said that he during the game got checked out for a shoulder injury, but was fine, and he in the game had some impressive runs. Croskey-Merritt had a first quarter 1st and 10 pistol handoff run for no gain, but this on a run on which he turned what looked like it would be a run for negative yardage into a run back to the line of scrimmage. Croskey-Merritt later in the first quarter had a 1st and 10 5-yard shotgun handoff run, and then 2 snaps later had a first quarter 1st and 10 9-yard pistol handoff run on which he generated multiple missed tackles. So 3 snaps later did commit a 2nd and 10 5-yard false start penalty in the first quarter, but he in the second quarter had a really tough 3rd and 1-1-yard pistol handoff run, and then 2 snaps later had a 2nd and 1 3-yard shotgun handoff run. Here was Commanders head coach Dan Quinn during his postgame press conference late night on Friday night on Jacory Croskey-Merritt.
I like the skills that we're seeing from Bill, and I'm encouraged by what I've seen so far, and I know he was amped and ready to go for tonight, but he makes plays, he's got quickness. I love the ball security that he had tonight. Like, those are important things that you can't overlook, and he was really ready to compete.
Yes, he was. How about another Jacory, receiver Jacory Brooks, undrafted rookie out of the University of Louisville? He on Friday night had 5 receptions for 59 yards on 5 targets and playing on 29% of the Commanders' offensive snaps. He for the game had an overall grade per Pro Football Focus of 80.1, the highest overall grade for any Commanders player who played on at least 15 offensive snaps in the game. PFF grades on a scale of 0 to 100, 60 is average. 2 other rookies, right tackle Josh Connerly Jr. and cornerback Trey Amos, drew praise from Dan Quinn during his post-game press conference late night on Friday night. Also drawing praise from Quinn during his post-game presser was interior defensive lineman Johnny Newton, who had a sack strip. Newton in the first quarter had a 3rd and 7 sack strip of Drake May. The fumble was recovered by edge defender Jacob Martin. Dan Quinn during his post-game press conference late night on Friday night on Johnny Newton.
Yeah, I thought what I've seen over the last, probably 2 weeks, I've really felt like his hand use as a pass rusher has stepped up, stepped in. He's got very good initial quickness off the ball. He can beat somebody to the punch. So there was a play, maybe there was a second drive where he and Martin kind of combined on a sack. You guys probably had a better view of it than me. But I do like what I've seen from him pass rush-wise, his hands. And so I thought he's off to a good start.
Yeah, encouraging to see that. Safety Jeremy Reeves was impressive. He, for the game, had an overall grade per Pro Football Focus of 87.6, the highest overall grade for any Commanders player who played on at least 15 defensive snaps in the game. Cornerback Noah Igbenogany was impressive. He, for the game, had an overall grade per Pro Football Focus of 79.8, the 3rd highest overall grade for any Commanders player who played on at least 15 defensive snaps in the game. Now, Igbenogany did have a bad, and I mean bad, missed tackle on running back Travion Henderson on his 100-yard kickoff return for a touchdown on the opening kickoff of the game. But Igbenogany also had a solo tackle on Henderson near the left sideline on a 2nd and 11 4-yard reception in the first quarter on the Patriots' first offensive drive of the game. The next snap resulted in the Johnny Newton sack strip, and Igbenogany was credited with a pass defense on a 2nd and 5 shotgun completion by quarterback Joshua Dobbs on a pass intended for receiver Efton Chisholm III on the Patriots' first offensive drive in the second quarter. So Josh Connerly, Jacory Croskey-Merritt, Johnny Newton, Trey Amos, Noah Igbenogany, Jeremy Reeves, these were many of the few key Commanders players who played on Friday night, and they played well. Well, two Nationals players were all-stars this season, left fielder James Wood and starting pitcher MacKenzie Gore. Each guy had been having a great season, but each guy had been struggling big time since the All-Star game, which took place on July 15th. But each guy did some very good things over the weekend and is perhaps now back on track. The Nats over the weekend won 2 out of 3 games at the San Francisco Giants. Late night on Friday night, a 5-0 loss at the Giants for the Nats' 11th shutout loss in MLB's 2025 regular season, but Saturday a 4-2 win at the Giants and Sunday an 8-0 win at the Giants. The Nats in this regular season now are 47-70, worst record in the National League East, second worst record in the National League, but the Nats have their first series win since the 2025 MLB trade deadline, which was on July 31st, and the Nats in the lead up to that deadline made 5 sell-side trades, and maybe, hopefully, James Wood is back to being in a good place. Nats interim manager Miguel Cairo did a whole lot of lineup shuffling over the weekend, including having Wood in the number 1 spot for each game. Now, I like that. Wood has thrived in the number 1 spot this season. Plenty of teams in MLB now have their best hitters as number 1 hitters. The Los Angeles Dodgers, for instance, consistently bat Shohei Ohtani in the number 1 spot. So James Wood was the Nats starting left fielder and number 1 batter for each game in the series, and he was great. The 5-0 loss late night on Friday night, Wood went 1 for 4 with a double. The 4-2 win at the Giants on Saturday, Wood went 2 for 5 with a solo homer and an RBI double. He did strike out 3 times, but Wood in a Nats 1-run first had a leadoff opposite field homer to left center field for a 1-0 Nats lead. The homer was his first since July 9th. Saturday was August 9th. That homer was Wood's first homer since July 9th. And Wood in a Nats 1-run 6 had a 2-out opposite field RBI double to the left center field gap on an 0-2 pitch for a 4-0 Nats lead. And the 8-0 win at the Giants on Sunday, Wood went 2 for 5 with 2 2-run doubles. He did strike out 3 more times, but Wood in a Nats 4-run second had a 2-out full count 2-run double down the right field line for a 2-0 Nats lead. And Wood in a Nats 2-run 7th had a 2-out opposite field 2-run double to the left center field gap for an 8-0 Nats lead. A tremendous series for James Wood. He, for this regular season, is number 1 among all qualified Nats players in OPS at 844. And MacKenzie Gore, he in the 8-0 win at the Giants on Sunday, snapped a 4-start slump with an outstanding outing. He tossed 6 scoreless innings with 10 strikeouts versus 1 walk. He was dominant. He gave up just 3 hits, all of which were singles. He threw a lot of strikes, 96 pitches, 67 strikes, just 29 balls. That was more like it from MacKenzie Gore. He, for this regular season, now 24 starts, ERA of 4.09, whip of 1.33. The Nats offense as a whole got progressively better as this series went on. The 5-0 loss late night on Friday night, the Nats scored no runs, totaled just 4 hits, worked just 2 walks, and went just 1 for 6 with runners in scoring position. The 4 hits were a double and 3 singles, and all of this happened despite the Giants going with a bullpen game. 5 Giants relievers combined on a 4-hit shutout. The 4-2 win at the Giants on Saturday, the Nats scored 4 runs, could have scored plenty more. The Nats totaled 11 hits and worked 3 walks, but went just 1 for 11 with runners in scoring position. The 11 hits were 3 home runs, 3 doubles, and 5 singles. In the 8-0 win at the Giants on Sunday, the Nats scored 8 runs, totaled 17 hits, worked 1 walk, and went 5 for 12 with runners in scoring position. The 17 hits were a home run, 4 doubles, and 12 singles. The Nats hammered Giants starting pitcher Justin Verlander in this, his age 42 season. He allowed 5 runs in 5 innings. He gave up 11 hits, did have 6 strikeouts versus 1 walk, but Verlander is not having a good season. You wonder if this might be his last season in what is a career that certainly will land him in the National Baseball Hall of Fame. Justin Verlander, as I'm sure many of you know, a pseudo-local. He's a product of Old Dominion University. 2 key young position players for the Nats beyond James Wood had good games on Sunday. C.J. Abrams, he on Sunday as the Nats starting shortstop and number 2 batter, went 2 for 5 with a 2-run homer and a single. Abrams in the Nats 4-run second had a 2-out 2-run homer to right field on an 0-2 pitch for a 4-0 Nats lead. Abrams for this regular season is number 2 among all qualified Nats players at OPS at 790. And Dalen Lyle, he on Sunday as the Nats starting right fielder and number 7 batter, went 2 for 5 with a double and a single. He for this month of August has an OPS of 831. Also, how about Josh Bell? He in the 4-2 win at the Giants on Saturday as the Nats starting first baseman and number 4 batter went 2 for 3 with a solo homer, a double, and a walk. Bell in the 8-0 win at the Giants on Sunday as the Nats starting DH and number 3 batter went 3 for 4 with a double, 2 singles, and a walk. Josh Bell's OPS for this regular season is up to 731. This off being at 640 as of the end of June. He has been so much better lately. Now, look, he's a veteran on a 1-year contract. He unfortunately was not traded prior to the trade deadline, and what he's doing right now really doesn't mean much for the Nats in the big picture, but he is doing really well lately. The Nats starting pitching in the team winning 2 out of 3 games at the Giants over the weekend was good in 2 of the 3 games. I mentioned what MacKenzie Gore did on Sunday. The 4-2 win at the Giants on Saturday, Brad Lord was good again. He allowed 1 run in 6 innings with 5 strikeouts. He gave up 4 hits, which were a home run, a double, and 2 singles. He issued 2 walks. He threw a lot of strikes, 86 pitches, 56 strikes, just 30 balls. So Lord for this regular season over 2 stints in the bullpen and 2 stints in the rotation. 39 games, including 10 starts, ERA of 3.28, whip of 1.21. This is a rookie who the Nats took in the 18th round of the 2022 MLB draft out of the University of South Florida. He this past offseason worked at Home Depot. I mean, Brad Lord, one of the few major bright spots for the Nats this season. The 5-0 loss late night on Friday night. Jake Irvin did have another bad start, including another bad start to the start. He allowed 4 runs, 3 earned, and 5 in the 3rd innings. He gave up 8 hits, which were 2 home runs, a triple, a double, and 4 singles. He recorded just 3 strikeouts. He did issue no walks. He did throw a lot of strikes, 94 pitches, 62 strikes, just 32 balls. But Irvin had another bad first inning. He, in the bottom of the first, allowed 2 runs on a 1-out homer and then 3 consecutive 1-out singles. The homer was a 1-out solo homer by Rafael Devers to right center field for a 1-0 Giants lead when it projected 427 feet per StatCast. And Irvin, in the bottom of the 6th, allowed 2 runs, 1 earned, as he 1 pitch after a 1-out fielding error by first baseman Nathaniel Lowe gave up a 1-out 2-run homer by Casey Schmidt to left field for a 4-0 Giants lead. Jake Irvin now for this regular season, 24 starts, ERA of 4.90, whip of 1.34, a first inning ERA of 9.75. And the Nats' relief pitching in winning 2 out of 3 games at the Giants over the weekend was good. The 5-0 loss late night on Friday night. 2 Nats relievers combined to allow 1 run in 2 2/3 innings. Shinosuke Ogasawara allowed 1 run in 2 1/3 innings. He over 50 pitches through just 29 strikes versus 31 balls. Orlando Revolta faced 1 batter and got 1 out. The 4-2 win at the Giants on Saturday. 3 Nats relievers combined to allow 1 run in 3 innings. Connor Pilkington, another good outing. He tossed a perfect bottom of the 7th. Cole Henry officially allowed a run in a 1/3 of an inning. He had what ended up being a 1-run 8th for the Giants, faced 4 batters, but got just 1 out. He gave up back-to-back 1-out singles, then issued a 1-out 4-pitch walk to load the bases. But Jose A. Ferrer, he tossed 1 2/3 scoreless innings for the save. He came into the game in the bottom of the 8th with the bases loaded, 1 out, and the Nats up 4-1. Ferrer, to the first batter he faced, gave up a pinch 1-out RBI sac fly by Wilmer Flores to cut the Nats lead to 4-2. But Ferrer then generated a swinging strikeout of the Giants' number 5 batter, Matt Chapman, with runners on first and second for the 3rd out, and Ferrer tossed a scoreless bottom of the 9th despite giving up 2 singles. A really nice 5-out save by the man who is the Nats' new closer, Jose A. Ferrer. And the 8-0 win at the Giants on Sunday. 3 Nats relievers combined for 3 perfect innings. Cole Henry tossed a perfect bottom of the 7th with 2 strikeouts. P.J. Poulin tossed a perfect bottom of the 8th with 2 swinging strikeouts. And Clayton Beeter tossed a perfect bottom of the 9th. Next up for the Nats is a 3-game series at the Kansas City Royals. Game 1 Monday night at 7:40, Cade Cavalli will be the Nats starting pitcher. Game 2 Tuesday night at 7:40, Mitchell Parker will be the Nats starting pitcher. Game 3 Wednesday afternoon at 2:10, Jake Irvin will be the Nats starting pitcher. Well, the lowly Athletics just had their way with the two MLB teams of the Mid-Atlantic region, the two teams of Masson. The Nationals this past Tuesday through Thursday lost 2 out of 3 games against the A's at Nationals Park, and the Orioles over the weekend lost 2 out of 3 games against the A's at Oriole Park at Camden Yards. Friday night, a 3-2 win over the A's, but Saturday night, an 11-3 loss to the A's. The O's, prior to the game, inducted former Orioles outfielders Adam Jones and Joe Orsulak and longtime Orioles broadcaster Tom Davis into the Orioles Hall of Fame. And Sunday afternoon, a 3-2 loss to the A's in a game in which the O's blew a 2-1 ninth-inning lead. The O's in MLB's 2025 regular season now are 53-65, worst record in the American League East, third worst record in the American League. The A's in this regular season now are 53-67, worst record in the American League West, second worst record in the American League. And the bad injury news for the O's continues in this second consecutive season of the O's getting hammered by injury. So the O's on Friday did get back a key player from injury, but also lost 2 more key players to injury. The O's on Friday afternoon announced having returned first baseman Ryan Mountcastle from his minor league rehab assignment and having activated him from the 60-day injured list, which he had been on since June 23rd. He was on the 10-day injured list from May 31st to June 23rd. All of this due to a right hamstring strain. Good to have him back, but the O's on Friday afternoon also announced having placed outfielder Colton Cowser on the 7-day concussion injured list, retroactive to August 7th. And the O's on Friday afternoon announced having placed outfielder Tyler O'Neill on the 10-day injured list, retroactive to August 6th due to right wrist inflammation, marking a third stint for the oft-injured O'Neill on the 10-day IL this season. He was on the 10-day IL from April 26th, retroactive to April 24th to May 9th. Due to neck inflammation, and he was on the 10-day IL from May 18th, retroactive to May 16th to July 4th due to a left shoulder impingement. The O's cannot buy a break with these injuries. And so the Orioles offense in losing 2 out of 3 games against the A's over the weekend was not good. The O's over the 3 games totaled just 8 runs, although the O's did hit some extra base hits. The 3-2 win over the A's on Friday night, the O's scored just 3 runs, totaled just 3 hits, worked 3 walks, and went 0 for 1 with runners in scoring position. The 3 hits were 2 home runs and a single. All 3 of the Orioles' runs came on back-to-back 2-out homers in the bottom of the first. And the second of those homers was by the returning Ryan Mountcastle. He is the Orioles starting DH and number 5 batter, went 1 for 3 with a solo homer. Also homering for the O's on Friday night was Adley Rutschman. He is the Orioles starting catcher and number 4 batter, went 1 for 2 with a 2-run homer and a walk. The 11-3 loss to the A's on Saturday night, the O's scored just 3 runs, totaled just 4 hits, worked just 1 walk, and went 1 for 1 with runners in scoring position. The 4 hits were a home run and 3 singles. Gunnar Henderson hit the homer. He is the Orioles starting shortstop, and number 3 batter went 1 for 3 with a 3-run homer. And the 3-2 loss to the A's on Sunday afternoon, the O's scored just 2 runs, totaled just 5 hits, and went just 1 for 9 with runners in scoring position. But the 5 hits were a home run, a triple, 2 doubles, and a single. And the O's worked a whopping 8 walks. Jordan Westberg, he is the Orioles starting third baseman and number 2 batter, went 1 for 5 with a solo homer. And Kobe Mayo had a pinch RBI double in the bottom of the 7th for a 2-1 Orioles lead. The O's lost 2 out of 3 games against the A's over the weekend, despite getting good starting pitching in 2 of the 3 games. The 3-2 win over the A's on Friday night. Tomoyuki Sagano was very good. He allowed 1 run in 7 innings. He gave up 5 hits, which were a double and 4 singles. He issued 2 walks and a hit by pitch. He recorded 4 strikeouts. He threw 91 pitches, 56 strikes, 35 balls. Sagano now for this regular season, 22 starts, ERA of 4.24, whip of 1.31. The 11-3 loss to the A's on Saturday night, Brandon Young had another bad outing. He allowed 6 runs in 3 innings. He gave up 6 hits, which were 2 home runs, a double, and 3 singles. He issued 2 walks. He recorded 2 strikeouts. He did throw a good number of strikes, 74 pitches, 48 strikes, just 26 balls. But things just have not gone well for Young at the major league level this regular season. 10 starts, ERA of 6.70, whip of 1.74. And the 3-2 loss to the A's A's on Sunday afternoon. Cade Povich, in his second start since coming off the 15-day injured list, was good. He allowed 1 run in 6 innings with 5 strikeouts. He gave up 4 hits, which were a double and 3 singles. He issued 3 walks. He threw 94 pitches, 60 strikes, 34 balls. But the Orioles bullpen in the team losing 2 out of 3 games against the A's over the weekend had problems. The 3-2 win over the A's on Friday night, 2 Orioles relievers combined to allow 1 run in 2 innings. Yunier Cano allowed 1 run in 1 inning. He, in the top of the 8th, allowed a run on 2 singles, though Keegan Aiken tossed a perfect top of the 9th for the save. The 11-3 loss to the A's on Saturday night, 4 Orioles relievers combined to allow 5 runs, 2 earned in 6 innings. Yaramil Geraldo officially allowed 4 runs, 1 earned in 1 2/3 innings. He, in an Athletics 5-run fifth, was charged with 4 runs, 1 earned, as he committed a 2-out fielding error. Corbin Martin officially allowed 1 run in 1 1/3 innings. Cade Stroud did toss a perfect top of the 7th, and Grant Wolfram tossed 2 scoreless innings with 3 swinging strikeouts. And the 3-2 loss to the A's on Sunday afternoon, 3 Orioles relievers combined to allow 2 runs in 3 innings. Yunier Cano tossed 1 1/3 scoreless innings with 2 strikeouts. Dietrich Enns faced 2 batters and generated 2 called strikeouts, but Keegan Aiken allowed 2 runs in 1 inning for a blown save. Aiken, in the top of the 9th, allowed 2 runs on a leadoff 5-pitch walk of Darrell Hernandez, a 1-out single by Gio Urshela into left field, and a 1-out first pitch 2-run double by Willie McIver to left field for a 3-2 A's lead. Keegan Aiken is serving as the Orioles closer because their number 1 closer, Felix Bautista, is, guess what? Yes, injured. The O's on July 24th announced having put Bautista on the 15-day injured list retroactive to July 21st due to right shoulder discomfort. No game for the O's on Monday. Next up for them is a 3-game series against the Seattle Mariners at Oriole Park at Camden Yards. Game 1, Tuesday evening at 6:35, Dean Kramer will be the Orioles starting pitcher. Game 2, Wednesday evening at 6:35, Trevor Rogers will be the Orioles starting pitcher. Game 3, Thursday afternoon at 1:05, Tomoyuki Sagano will be the Orioles starting pitcher. And that'll do it for you and me for now. Keep the feedback coming. You can hit me up on X at Al Galdi. You can email me the Al Galdi podcast at yahoo.com. Tuesday show, episode 1131. We'll have plenty for you on the Commanders. Also on Tuesday's show, I'll talk Nationals. The Nats are at the Kansas City Royals Monday night at 7:40 in Game 1 of a 3-game series. Have a great rest of your Monday, and I'll talk to you on Tuesday.
I can almost live with any result when you put it all in, do it right. But when it's sloppy and not to the standards, that burns my ass.